Sorry, I just got through eating pizza, but happy Tuesday, everybody. I hope you all had a wonderful day. I know that I did not give you all a video last week, and I do apologize as things have gotten hectic in my AP world. But I wanted to make sure I did my due diligence and set you all up with a video this week. You all should have wrapped up your discussion post from chapter 6. I posted chapter 7 and I will upload your midterm today. I just wanted to make sure that I gave you time so that you can review chapter 5. Chapter 7 is up. The assignment is on the last page as always, but I'm going to give you your midterm first. If you all would like, I can open it up and just make the assignment due about 2 weeks out. I'm going to give you about a week and a half for your midterm. It is only 50 questions, multiple choice. If you utilize the PowerPoints and the text, you should be fine. It has been everything that has been covered between chapters 1 and 6. Tonight, I am going to do a brief overview of chapter 6 as well as a brief overview of chapter 7 as well. That way you are kind of already ahead. And I think I'm just going to make the executive decision because I know some of you all like to work ahead to post the assignment tonight as well for chapter 7 and just leave it open, and then you all can work on that. After chapter 7, we will be skipping chapter 8 and going into chapter 9, as well as I am still working with my district partner on your ESOL module. Hopefully by the end of the week, I have that so I can upload that as well. That probably would be more of a reflection piece about extending your thinking and what your thought process may be when you all have ELL students in your rooms, your classrooms, but it won't be anything that is too in depth or you all have to write a paper on. But your next paper for chapter 7, I did add an additional page. I have listened to you all. There will be a rubric attached as well as detailed instructions for the actual assignment. So I literally broke it down by step of each part of what I'm asking you to write about, as well as there is a rubric attached to it. So I don't want to make the video too lengthy because then YouTube as well as the school website fights me about uploading it. So chapter 6 was on cognitive theories and cognitive learning theory, and this chapter explored how learning occurs inside the mind, how information is processed, stored, and received, and how teachers can apply this knowledge to help students learn more effectively. If any of you are in the educational system now, whether you're a TA, whether you are a teacher in the classroom, you know that all of our children process and learn at different rates. Some also receive additional resources, additional accommodations to just make the playing field even for them across the board. As we have our thriving readers or struggling, those that are in BAF. So we do take all of this into consideration. Your key outcomes for this chapter should have been understanding the information processing model, explain how the brain supports learning, identify why we remember or forget, learn how to teach and apply the metacognitive and study strategies, and connect cognitive theory to intentional teacher. So again, using our research-based learning, using what we learned from the text, and how do we apply it to be more intentional when we are planning and when we are teaching our students. So under the information processing model, or IPM, as the text likes to abbreviate, remember the 3 key components was the sensory register, working memory, and long-term memory. And teachers must manage the limits of working memory by chunking information, pacing instruction, and providing time for practice and rehearsal. I think with anything, whether reading, math, science, practice and rehearsal is going to be our biggest key. We have to think about the amount of times it takes us when we practice to retain information. And sometimes for certain people, it may take a little longer than others. Then we got into what executive processing is, and this is when students control their learning through this process, deciding what to pay attention to, how to connect it, and what to remember. So again, that's when we sometimes use that annotation in our voice, kind of upping the enthusiasm so we can get them to pay attention a little more. In our upper grade levels, we may just particularly point out, hey, this is what I need you to remember here. And sometimes even if they can't connect it to something else, they still struggle with processing this information. And then we talked to the PowerPoint, or the presentation talks about attention and perception, and we use a variety of emotion and purpose to capture attention and connect new material to existing knowledge. So how do we connect background knowledge to and build upon that to the new knowledge, is pretty much what they were talking about. And then how do we continue to grasp the students' attentions while we are learning? I've also learned when we're dealing with certain students that sometimes taking a break, if we're trying to get them to retain too much information at one time, it may be good to pause, which goes back to that chunking. Or we might, when we're intentionally planning, this is too much in one day, so I'm going to scaffold up, or I may start high and scaffold back down. And then remembering and forgetting often occurs due to interference, proactive and retroactive inhibitions, and lack of rehearsal. So we may forget when we don't practice things, or sometimes, like, I'm a big math head. So I've noticed with my fourth graders this year that they may have remembered it, or we may have taught it in unit 2. And then when I come back to it, or I'm trying to build upon that background knowledge or go back to that, they're looking at me like, what? So one of the things that we do as a best practice in math is that before we even start a lesson, we are doing recursive standards or spiral review, so they're continuing to see previous knowledge and still build upon new knowledge as well. And some memory strategies, lastly, that were talked about were paired associate learning, serial learning, free recall, and meaningful learning, making connections again to that prior knowledge instead of rote memorization, which I think is a key component. And then we talked about the intentional teacher. What does this mean to the intentional teacher? And they use this to design instruction and maximize learning. Planning lessons that match how the brain processes information, avoid overloading the memory. So again, chunking that information, not giving them too much at once. Use active and engaging strategies. Provide ample feedback. So if I give you something, whether it's homework, whether it's a class assignment, making sure I'm giving you feedback, ample time to practice. And then even when you practice, how do I know if I got it right or wrong? I have to review, going back and reviewing. I keep stressing that with my teachers this year as well. If I'm going to give homework, I need to do my due diligence as to reviewing it so the kids know what they are doing at home. One, is not in vain. And two, now I know if I've had any misconceptions or errors, I've taken the time to correct them prior to us building on to that new knowledge. The key takeaways you should have gotten from this PowerPoint or from this chapter in general was learning happens through active mental processing. Attention, rehearsal, and meaning are essential for retention. Practice and feedback move knowledge into long-term memory, so we don't want it to get stuck in our short term, but the more we practice, the more it moves on into our long term. And metacognition empowers students to take control of their learning. And then intentional teaching integrates base strategies with sound cognitive theory. So again, going back to that research, and also knowing your students, I think is also going to play a key part in this. Again, like I said, we already have certain students that are going to require, as soon as they walk into your classroom, they require additional resources, additional time. They may need more time to process what they are learning versus other kids. So everybody learns at a different rate, and we have to give them that time. I know we look at, oh, well, we only have this many weeks in the 9 weeks. But again, best practice is to go back to reteach and reassess, because I may have not gotten it in the first 9 weeks. It may take me all the way to the third 9 weeks to get it. And it's not fair that I am assessed at the same rate as somebody else if I don't learn the same way they do. So, all right, let me take a quick break, drink some water before I get into chapter 7. All right. Direct instruction was what chapter 7 was about. And I think an overarching key takeaway from the entire chapter was planning ahead with purpose and clarity sets the stage for student success. So again, all this ties back into being intentional with our planning, so we know exactly what our lessons are going to look like. So the chapter talks about presenting new materials. Students learn best when information is clearly explained, visually supported, and actively modeled. I think again, going back to modeling our thinking, which is one of our big district mandates in Lake County, using those I statements, letting the children see what our metacognition looks like as we are processing, whether we are modeling for them, even when we are doing guided and the students are helping. I am constantly reminding my teachers to let them explain and reiterate those I's and how they would do it. You know, students do learn best from each other. Checking for understanding. So again, check what we are expecting from our students. Use learning probes such as quick checks, questionings, or signals, and encourage deeper thinking and involve all students, not just volunteers. Good strategies I have learned from being in the classroom is using equity sticks. I don't know if you all are familiar with that. You put them in the cup. It's a popsicle stick. It has everybody's name on it. So if I've already asked you a question, even though you may be eager and your hand is up, and I will recognize your eagerness, but you won't be the one that's called, not until I get through all of those sticks. And allowing students to have that wait time, because again, everybody does not process the same, so we have to allow wait time and productive struggle. This is where we set our high expectations for our students. You may not know the answer, but I'm going to probe you. I'm going to guide you so that we get to the answer together, and I'm not just letting you give up. Then we have the independent and distributed practice. Practice should reinforce learning and should be frequent but manageable. So again, we are not going to overload our students. Just like the concept with homework, I tell teachers, even when I was in the classroom, because a lot of our parents, we have to also remember our demographics. I'm not giving my kids more than five math problems a night. Something that's more manageable. It may not even be something that we are on right now. It might be something that I'm trying to reinforce that from a previous unit that they may have not gotten. Same thing with reading. When we have struggling readers, we don't want to frustrate them at home or the parents. So I might give them a shorter version of the passage. They're still getting the meat and potatoes that they need from the passage, but I'm not frustrating them at all at home. Transfer of learning and discussion. Transfer and discussion builds the bridge between knowing and doing, helping students apply learning in new contexts. So again, teachers must teach for transfer by using very real world examples. Make it relatable to the kids. A lot of times, again, I'm a math head, so when we talk about certain things, kids will be like, "We're never going to use this again." So now, being intentional when I set the what, why, and how, I make sure that the why is this relevant has something to do that will relate to them. Sometimes it's harder than other times, but I try to make it adaptable so they can say, okay, now I see why this may be useful when I get older, or how can I apply this to my life now? And then the intentional teacher. Purposely select strategies aligned with students' needs, content demand, and learning goals. They use direct instruction for skill-based objectives, discussions, or project for open-ended learning. Intentional teachers continuous to monitor, adjust, and reteach. Something that is quite important and goes back hand in hand with chapter 6. Everybody does not learn the same. What is my cognitive theory? What my cognitive learning? Adam may get it on the first try around, where Susie, it may take 4 or 5 times. Susie may fail the first time on the unit test, but when I intentionally pull her into small group, intentionally make sure that the homework, that the practice in class is aligned to what Susie and a variety of other students may need, a week or 2 down the line, when I reassess Susie's got it now. But again, we have to be intentional when we talk about these things, or when we put textbook into practice. And so moving forward, again, I know I kind of said that fast, and I'm still going to be at a 20-minute video today. I just wanted to touch base. I'm back. I'm visual. I know I took that week hiatus, but I had to kind of get my life together. I know I've expanded some of your lessons out, but we're about to be in crunch time after our midterm. I still will try my best not to overload you all with so many things at the same time, which is why I said I'm going to push out your midterm by this evening. You'll have, I believe today is Tuesday, and I'm looking at my calendar on the computer. So I'm going to give you till Friday the 24th. I think that's ample amount of time for 50 questions. The test is not designed for anybody to fail or struggle. Go back to the PowerPoints. Go back to the textbook. It should be easy from there. It's not timed. It's just so I can get a snapshot of how effective this is going, or what is something that I may cover or need to review. But I'm quite confident in you all that you are going to do very well. I am also going to push out chapter 7 assignment as well. It will not be due on Friday. I'm going to actually give you about a good 2 weeks to do it. And normally your assignments are due on Sunday. So I am probably going to give you until about the 28th, because this one is a little more lengthier and I want to make sure you all have time to do it. You may see the ESOL PowerPoint pop up as well at the same time. The due dates won't be the same, but I know I have students that like to work ahead. So I want to make sure that I am continuously uploading and putting things in so you all are not idle and waiting. And then I am going to push out chapter 9 as well. But I'm not going to try to overload you all too much at the same time. But just be looking for in the next day your midterm chapter 7 assignment, the ESOL module. And if that's not done first, then I'll push out chapter 9 and then the ESOL module as well. I look forward to great writing assignments. I look forward to you all acing this midterm. Have a wonderful week, and until next Tuesday we meet again.